Now I have my 9 core region stance widths marked on this vinyl strip. These come from the results of the body measurements, and they're transferred to this strip just for durability. I have one here and I have one on the floor. They are identical. So if you notice, there are 3 colors here. There are blue, there's red, and there's black. What I'm going to do now is I want to show you the 4 basic exercises for the Wright Balance Core 360 program. So the first exercise, actually for the first exercise you can do it on your knees, and depending on the level of player. I've had a player 86 years old with bilateral knee replacement, and we put towels under his knees, and he would use the width of his knees to balance his core. So 7 is my furthest one out, and all I have to do is raise my toes and hold this position for 1 minute. If I hold this position for 1 minute, it will square up the front of my core. This exercise you're going to see now balances the horizontal plane on the front of the core. So that's number 1, and this is really where all the exercise began, was on the knees on the floor. And then we progressed to wall, and there are many, many different ways to balance the front of the core. I'm going to show you the basic ones today. So if I'm going to, depending on the player you have and their strength, you want them to go 90 degrees, 0 with the left foot, 90 degrees, and I just start from the last number and move forward. They can lean on the wall like this. Okay, hold this for 1 minute. You'll notice I have soft knees and my heels are off the floor. So you want them to hold that for 1 minute. Another way to do that same exercise is to back this strip up. Now, we're working on 2 things. These are all gravity and weight driven. So you're going to use your student's body weight to set the core, balance the core. The next exercise I can do is just lean and hold a push-up position. If I hold this position for 1 minute in each of the 9 core regions, that will balance my core. And the last one is finding enough distance off the wall, and from these positions you're going to do soft knees, tuck in the stomach, shoulder blades down and back, and push-ups. Depending on the player and their strength, you're going to use, I would say, 10 push-ups the first time, just to show the impact this has on core. And then there's a variation of this. You can go, be careful anytime you're using the ball. As we move forward, I'm going to show you multiple ways to use the ball in your exercises. But you can get far enough off the wall, place the ball on the wall. I'm not far enough. Also, please advise your students, when they're doing these exercises, make sure that their footwear is not going to slip, and whatever surface they're standing on, that they have plenty of ability to get traction. So I can actually go further off, but I can hold this position. Fascinating thing about this, if you hold this long enough, you'll start to see the ball vibrate. You will get the same response on the core. You'll balance the horizontal plane of the front of the core. So those are the variations on balancing horizontal plane, front of the core. Let's take a look now at how we balance the back of the core. This exercise has the dead bug. Again, I have my 9 core region stance widths. So the position of my feet when I'm doing these exercises is absolutely critical. When you do this exercise, you can use your toe line or your heel line. I always use my heel line for this exercise. So I'm going to put the middle of my right heel on 0, middle of my left heel on red. So when I do, red is an upper core. So when I do the upper core, I am able to leave my feet flat on the floor, and you're going to recline and you're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and you're going to continue to count. First time I would take your students to 20 on each of these. As we progress, they may have trouble with the lower or mid core because of the leg extensions. If they do, just have them modify the number of repetition. So that's red. Any upper core number, I'm going to use arms only. Now in another video, I'm going to show you the measurement systems we use. This is just to illustrate how to do the exercises. Now I'm going to go to a blue number, which is my lower core. Easy way to remember this is when we're doing the exercise, we're only using the core region. We're balancing the core region using that part of the core. So this time I'm going to lay back, and I'm going to raise my legs, and I'm going to do the same number of extensions. And you're going to do only legs here. Lower core, blue numbers, you're using only your legs. And you want full extension. You go to a point that you are unable to extend. This has to do with your carrying or power angle. Just raise your leg a little higher or extend it out a little lower. I can go either direction, okay? I can find full extension here, I can find full extension here, but if I go to in between those numbers, as an athlete in the gym, we take a towel and try and stretch out that hamstring. We were just using the wrong angles. So that's lower core, legs only. So if we go to mid-core is black. Black is raising your legs and then doing right arm, left leg, left arm, right leg. So red, upper core, arms only. Blue, lower core, legs only. Black, mid-core, arms and legs. When we get to the measurement system, I'll show you how this was figured out in our research, and how if you do these dead bug exercises any other way, you're not recruiting the regions you're trying to exercise. It's simple, and the newest part of this, when I am doing the dead bug, I can actually increase the number of repetition by core region. The more repetition you do, the more you're using gravity, and the longer this exercise is going to last. It's going to change your core. Let's take a look at obliques or side planks now. You're also going to use the wall, and it depends on the condition of your student as how you're going to do it. So we're going to do the vertical region of the front of the core. And again, I'll show you in other videos on how we determine it's the front versus the back and the changes we observe in the core by exercise. But right now, let's just take a look at how to do these. So we're going to raise the outside leg. If your student, I could be a little bit closer if I needed to. So if your student has a shoulder injury, problems with their forearm, they can actually just lean into the wall with the shoulder and raise the outside leg. This is not much gravity I'm using, but it will start to make the changes. Okay. Obviously, the next way I can go is if I'm leaning with the shoulder, I can lean now with the forearm. Again, not much gravity being imparted. You'll notice I go to my number, I raise my leg, and then I lean into the wall. If I want to use that forearm and I'm a little stronger, if I have some shoulder issues, I can lean on the forearm a little further out. And I can continue to move further and further off the wall and just hold this position. Now I can feel I'm working the shoulder, I'm working the obliques, and I'm going to experience changes in that region. I'll show you when we get to the video on measurements how we're actually changing one width at a time. Now, for your students, you always want to measure the distance off the wall. So here I'm at 35 inches off the wall. You want to make sure that you're getting the same distance each time, so you're doing the same work. So what you can do to increase the longevity of the exercise, the effect of the exercise, is to either increase distance or increase duration in time or repetition. So I'm going to show you now another way to do this side plank. So I'm at 35 inches. That is also generally, if I'm doing push-ups on the wall, I'm going to use the same distance there. So the 0 point is closest to the wall. My first number is out here. I raise that leg, and now I can do push-ups on the wall. How many you do? Depends on, you're going to do all 9 regions. So it depends on the distance from the wall you're using and how many times you've done this. Do not overdo this. You want to be able to get through all 9 regions. So however many push-ups you're doing, you finish that, you drop down, and you go to the next number, and same thing until you've done all 9. You want to keep this foot off the floor. You do not want to touch the floor with this foot. Doesn't have to be out here. It can be right next to you. It can be tucked or just knee a little bit. As long as you're doing the repetition. I would encourage you not to push off the wall, but to hold that wall with your palm and then slowly do the push-ups. That is the vertical plane of the front of the core. When you're done with that 9, you're going to need to turn around, and from this side, excuse my back side here, we do the same thing, raising the leg, and now we do the other side. And as you'll see, that will start to balance the core when we get to the measurements. That is the vertical plane of the front of the core. Now let's take a look at the horizontal plane. All we do, we maintain the same distance. We just flip this around so that now our 0 point for my left foot was my right foot on this side before, is furthest from the wall. Flip this around. Very similar process. If you need to lean. If you can hold this position for a minute with a forearm, that's great. If not, then I'd encourage you, this activity, more dynamic, get the blood flow going, and my belief at this point in our research that this particular exercise will last the longest. If you're not able to do it, use the forearm. And now I'm training the vertical plane of the back of my core. And we know that, and I will show you how we know that in another video. So this is the vertical plane of the back of the core.